You're about to hear 4 words that changed this entire case. Listen closely.
He was face down on the beach right at the water's edge.
If he was sent face down, that also doesn't make sense to me. If he's face down, wouldn't blood pool just by nature of gravity this way?
So right now, we've got a lot of questions, but as the second doctor says, this is all still pending investigation.
If this were your child, wouldn't you want to know what happened? Straight out to investigative reporter Crime Stories, Dave Mack. Did you just hear what I heard? Now, this has been transcribed, and this is the CTO dispatch call. Because, Dave, when I first heard this, I thought, has this been doctored? Is this real? Where's this coming from, Dave?
Nancy, this is coming from from Mississippi, from the actual official. Okay, when we get into the Mississippi Fish and Wildlife and the reserve putting this out for the public, this is not like from Dave Mack's recording. This is an official recording, Nancy, that is being issued, and it's shocking when you listen to this call for a tow, for the CTO. Going further into it, Nancy, you're picking apart all of the different voices that can be heard on this one phone call, trying to determine what is really taking place on this boat that is allegedly sitting in 31 feet of water, a depth of 31 feet. And a bilge pump not working, claiming they're sinking, and calling for help. And yet, in the background, are we really hearing all of this other activity?
Guys, this was released from the MDMR, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Alexis Tereszczuk joining us out of LA, just joining us now, Crime Stories investigative reporter as well. Alexis, the transcription, I want you to listen to it, Alexis, as we play it again. This is obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. It's not something we just found on TikTok. Okay, Alexis Tereszczuk, jump in.
So it sounds like before the woman starts talking, the operator, everyone in the background is saying, "Is he dead? Nolan, wake the up." And so they are concerned about Nolan. They're saying, literally, is he dead? Nobody has ever, none of the kids on this boat have ever admitted that anybody said that they thought Nolan was dead on the boat. This is the first time that we are hearing this.
What is the chance that this has been doctored in some way, Alexis Tereszczuk? Because circulating on the internet was a scene where another young man was face down, being attacked on the sand. That was not Nolan Wells. That's not Nolan Wells. Repeat. So there are bottom feeders that are fabricating evidence and circulating it, and it is whipping up all sorts of hostility. But regarding this, have you listened to it independently of any transcription?
I have listened to it. I've listened to it over and over, and I've listened to the audio where it's only the sound of the boy calling in and not the operator's voice. So the thing is, there have been a lot of false videos. People have said there was a video where Nolan was screaming, saying, "Give me my phone back." His friend says, "No, that's me in the video." There have been tons of AI generated videos and images and things, but this is the official audio from the organization.
Okay, let's hear the audio to which you are referring. Listen. Now, it's my understanding, Dave Mack, that sound we just played is real sound. That is not doctored sound, but someone else claims that's them saying, "Give me my phone back." That is not Nolan Wells. Explain.
Well, Nancy, what we have is some friends that were also out on the boat trip out to Horn Island that were with Nolan Wells and were friends with Nolan Wells. Claim that was him, that he was the one that was saying, "Give me my phone back," that it wasn't Nolan Wells. So we've got an identification from the person who says, "I was the one saying that. It wasn't Nolan Wells." And when you listen to the audio, Nancy, it does seem like it is not Nolan Wells saying, "Give me my phone back." It sounds like the guy claiming it.
Guys, a lot of confusion surrounding the audio that has been released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. This, as we are also learning about an offer made by the United Cajun Navy to Ben Crump, who is representing Nolan's family. To Todd Terrell joining us, the president of the Cajun Navy. Todd, thank you for being with us tonight. Todd, explain to me the offer that you guys made to Crump.
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that I really am specific about the words I use because I don't want things taken out of context. Me personally, as president of the United Cajun Navy, made a call to Mr. Crump and offering him our services for dogs, cadaver dogs, and specific scent dogs. I never heard back from him. Our incident commander, Josh Gill, did speak to Liza Parks, I think he's one of his lead attorneys or whatever, and offered the services as well. The rumors about us talking to Mr. Crump, personally, I want to set the record straight. Nobody, myself, nor anyone from United Cajun Navy spoke personally to Mr. Crump. We did reach out and make an offer, but we did not hear back from him.
Is he dead? That's what investigators say the enhanced audio catches, buried in the background of an official dispatch call. Not a leaked recording, not something pulled off TikTok. This came straight from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Nolan Wells was 18, a student athlete. On July 4th, he traveled to Horn Island with a group of friends. 2 days later, they found his body. That's the timeline everyone agrees on. Everything after this line, they don't. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this recording proves and what it absolutely does not. Because right now the internet is split. Some people say this audio confirms something happened on that boat. Others say it's static, distortion, 4 panicked teenagers during a real emergency. An independent autopsy, commissioned by Nolan's own family, still couldn't determine his cause of death. If you want the full breakdown, not the 30-second clip everyone's arguing about, subscribe now. We're walking through every verified detail, in order, starting with what actually happened before anyone picked up a phone to call for help. You think you know this case. You don't. Not yet. But before you decide what that audio means, you need to hear everything else that's actually been verified so far. Evidence. Let's build the timeline, not theories. Documented movement, minute by minute. The boat leaves the original dock at 9:56 a.m. It arrives at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Normal. Unremarkable. A group of friends on a holiday trip. Then, around 4 p.m., a call goes out to the Coast Guard. We're sinking. Can you all please come? The dispatcher asks if everyone on board is okay. The answer comes back calm. Yeah, everybody's all right. At 4:31 p.m., the boat leaves Horn Island. It gets towed roughly 3 miles. Then the tow ends. The boat returns to the original dock at 5:44 p.m. That's not the end of the trip. The boat then travels to Fort Bayou, back to the original dock, back to Fort Bayou again, then finally to the boat launch, where it gets pulled onto a trailer. A boat that was supposedly sinking hours earlier just took multiple additional trips that same night. Now here's the detail that should stop you cold. You can hear the caller clearly the entire way through this call. Full reception, full clarity. But investigators were originally told phones didn't work out there. No signal. That's why nobody documented anything on the island. Except this call proves someone had signal the whole time. So which is it? Was there no reception or was there? You can't have both. And once one detail in a timeline doesn't hold up, you start asking what else doesn't hold up either. There's a specific piece of evidence connected to Nolan's body that investigators are still fighting over right now, and it's not what you think. That timeline raises one question everyone keeps circling back to, but it's not the one you'd expect. Key question. This is the detail nobody's fully explained. The first medical examiner retained parts of Nolan's body, specifically his throat and his lungs. The second, independent examiner never had access to them. That's why the family's own autopsy couldn't determine cause of death. Why would anyone keep a throat? Dr. Thomas Coyne, chief medical examiner, gave the real forensic explanation. If there is some confusion about whether or not hemorrhage in tissue is due to decomposition or due to actual injury, they may do a deeper look at those structures. In plain terms, decomposition can mimic trauma. A body in water for days can show red discoloration in the neck that looks like an injury but isn't one. The only way to tell the difference is to examine the tissue directly. Here are 5 things confirmed so far. 1. Nolan's throat and lungs remain with the first examiner. 2. The second autopsy could not determine cause or manner of death. 3. There's visible reddening on the back of Nolan's neck. 4. Experts disagree on whether that reddening is post-mortem pooling or something else. 5. No forensic finding at autopsy can definitively prove or disprove drowning on its own. That last point matters more than people realize. Even the lungs can't give you a clean answer. Water in the lungs doesn't tell you if someone was breathing when they went in, or if they were already gone. The body isn't settling this. Neither is the audio. Neither is the timeline. Every piece of evidence in this case raises more questions than it answers. Why the throat and not somewhere else on the body? Tell us what you think that means down in the comments. If the evidence can't tell you the full story, the people on that boat might. Their accounts don't match, and one of them buries a detail everyone missed. So if the body can't tell us everything, what about the people who were actually there? Suspect truth. Here's the contradiction. Friends on the boat say Nolan chose to stay behind on Horn Island for a girl he'd just met. Her name is Katie McCormick. Katie's sister says the opposite. Katie always understood Nolan was leaving with his friends, not staying with her. 2 accounts. 1 island. Katie has been cooperating fully with investigators and with the Wells family this entire time. Then there's the video you've probably seen. A young man screaming, "Give me my phone back." People online swore it was Nolan, in distress, moments before he vanished. It wasn't him. A friend who was actually on the boat came forward and said, the voice belongs to him, not Nolan. Listen closely, and the audio backs that up. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. That wasn't the only fake circulating. A separate video showed a different young man, face down, being attacked on a beach. People shared it as proof something happened to Nolan. It wasn't him either. That's real misinformation, shaping a real investigation into a real family's loss. If you want to separate fact from fabrication in this case, subscribe. We're tracking every update as it happens. Do you believe Katie's version or the friend's version? Tell us which account doesn't add up to you. One piece of audio started all of this. Now you know everything it's standing on. Time to go back to it. Which brings us back to the one piece of audio that started all of this. Unresolved close listen. To it again. Is he dead? You've heard the timeline now. You've heard the forensic explanation. You've heard the conflicting accounts. Here's the honest verdict. What this audio proves, real panic exists in that background chatter. Someone, in that moment, was genuinely worried about Nolan. What it doesn't prove, a cause of death. Every voice with certainty. What actually happened on that boat? The district attorney has been direct. We are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Every death outside natural causes goes to a grand jury. That process is still open, right now, as you're watching this. Nolan's mother said it best. The only question that we have is what happened to our son. The autopsy report isn't public yet. When it drops, we'll have it broken down within the hour. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're not finding out from someone else's clickbait. If this were your son on that boat, would this audio be enough for you? Drop your verdict below. Proven or not proven? The evidence went quiet. We're not going to.